A portal will be opened soon and the population will decrease. There will indeed be several waves. Very good. Bright people will also be leaving. Some will remain on the subtle plane, some will be attached to the negative system, and some will stay on Earth. And today we will examine each of these aspects in detail. The quantum transition and cleansing is a reshuffling of souls. Naturally, those who cannot match the vibrations of the new world will die. And first and foremost, those who cling to the old structures, old beliefs will not be able to adapt. Those who do not accept the new, who are in denial of change, including those who deny that any kind of transition is happening. Some will indeed die physically and move on to the subtle planet or the astral. Some will remain on Earth, but they will live in a different reality. I see that a strong division will occur. Even now, you could say that everyone lives in their own reality. Even if we take two people living in the same city, one might say that they have a wonderful, vibrant, and fulfilling life. This is a person who is passionate about what they do, who has an interesting circle, interesting friends. Another person lives in the same environment, but they'll say that everything is bad, the weather is wrong, the government is wrong, the people are wrong, and everything is irritating. And literally, they can respond negatively to any aspect. What does this tell us? It means that the person does not accept reality, they don't like it, and it's already hard for them to exist in this reality. And such people will be able to leave, they will be given the opportunity. I understand that some things are hard to accept, but hard doesn't mean impossible. First of all, we need to start with the fact that all souls are immortal. Yes, some perish, some are born, but essentially nothing irreversible happens. If we look at it more broadly, at how the process of birth and death occurs, we can imagine that a person lives on Earth and then they die. And when a person dies, usually people, at least those close to them, get upset, they cry, and for many years afterward they remember, they grieve, they mourn, and they feel sorrow. Although at that moment, the person transitions into another state, and on the other side, they're already being greeted by their loved ones, other souls who are on the subtle plane, who may be just as close, if not closer, than those who are grieving. So what happens next? This soul lives for some time on the subtle plane. There is life there too, but it is completely different. And then the time comes, the soul decides to incarnate. And when a soul incarnates and is born as a child, on the other side, some souls are saddened as well. In fact, many of them also feel deeply upset. They cry, they mourn, and they feel sad. Essentially, there isn't much point in this if you think about it, because it's a continuous process of birth and rebirth. And even if someone goes to another planet, it just means they will be born on another planet. This is one aspect that helps me. The second aspect that helps me is awareness. There is a very old concept, which, well, I personally know from my incarnation as a Druid. The Druids have the concept of the one life. This means that absolutely everything in the world is part of a single life. And when I have an emotion, when I can't accept what's happening, when I think how terrible it all is. So I start to remember this and do a kind of meditation, immersing myself and imagining that absolutely all people are part of the one. Those who kill, those who are killed, the land where it happens, the nature where it happens, all of it is part of the one. And the deeper you immerse yourself in this state, the more you remember that the material world is an illusion, the more those emotions recede and a certain acceptance comes. This is a cleansing, a relocation of souls. Some will go to other planets, some will remain on the subtle plane, some will be attached to the negative system or matrix, and some will stay on Earth. And today we will examine each of these aspects in detail. There will actually be several waves. And first of all, those who cannot match the vibrations of this planet with their own vibrations will be the ones to leave. These are people who are in aggression, in fear, who are in low emotions. They are already dissatisfied with this reality. They no longer fit in. They cling to old, outdated systems. You could say they are holding on to the matrix. The matrix will fall apart and there will be nothing left for them to cling to. Inevitably, they will leave this planet. Indeed, I see that there will be two waves. In the first wave, all the people whose vibrations do not fit the new reality will be taken. We can already see these people now. These are toxic people, dissatisfied people who constantly complain, who are aggressive, who no longer accept the reality as it is. And this emotion will only intensify because they will like it even less when the old system collapses and the new world does not meet their expectations. That's why all people who vibrate below 200 hertz on the frequencies of fear, aggression, judgment, rejection, criticism will inevitably leave. And this is not a punishment, it's a certain choice. Those who do not choose to stay, those who cannot accept what is happening, they will leave, they will die, and they will move on to the subtle planes where the higher powers will deal with them. There will be a so-called judgment where it will be decided what will happen next with each individual soul.
What will happen? What could happen? Where could they send the soul that lives on one of these waves, so to speak?
They might leave them in the subtle plane for a long time because the population will be decreasing and there won't be enough bodies for incarnating on Earth. They will be much stricter in selecting those who get the right to incarnate on Earth, and it's possible that these souls will remain there for a very long time. And what exactly will happen there? That is, whether they will continue to stew in their own personal hell of negative emotions, or whether they will still be able to move out of that into something constructive that will depend on each individual soul. Some may even be permanently attached to the negative system and deprived of the right to choose. This will be decided on a case-by-case basis. But there is also a second wave. I'm receiving information that at the moment there are many extraterrestrial souls on Earth, and among them there are both representatives of the dark, such as reptilians, and light souls, representatives of highly developed civilizations who bring higher order vibrations, energies, and meanings to this planet. And these souls have come to Earth for a specific period of time. Some have arrived, let's say, recently, be it's their first incarnation while. Others have been here for quite a long time. But I'm receiving very persistent information that all these souls will be leaving soon. And that's why I'm being asked to gather all people with potential, with super abilities, to help them cleanse themselves of negative karma and unblock their channel of communication with higher powers. And as I was told, this is being done because soon a portal will open and it will be possible to return to their home planets through this portal. I think that when these souls remember who they are and where they're from, they'll be very happy to return home. Because usually such souls feel a bit like outsiders on this earth, like they don't quite belong. And perhaps this information will even be pleasant for them. Some may even leave without much awareness, but in that case, others should help because returning is not so simple. And we will observe that indeed very good, bright people will also be leaving. But it's important to understand that they will be going to another place. They will be returning home.
What should happen to a person in order to realize that these are echoes of the fact that they might be taken away, so to speak? Or do such people not have any self-reflection at all?
Usually there is no self-reflection, but there really are signs. The first sign is a lack of energy. When there is no energy, depression inevitably begins in some cases. In other cases, these people might try to vampirize and provoke negative emotions in others in order to feed off that energy. So if there are people in your circle who constantly, either through pity or aggression, provoke negative emotions and throw you off balance, then these are already candidates for living in the first wave.
Through what kinds of events should this happen?
Right now, we can see that tensions are rising around the world. We see that wars are happening all over the globe. There are already several hotspots. I can see that there will be even more of these hotspots. At least 2 more will be added. Aggression will continue to spread across the world. This is being done, among other reasons, to provoke people into just 2 emotions, fear and aggression. And here, all bright souls will have a choice to give in to this or not. Next, there will undoubtedly be natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, droughts, tsunamis, and various cyclones. And here it's almost like a profound and significant hint for all people that we truly need to turn our collective attention toward the natural world, toward the very earth itself, and completely stop feeling entirely separate from the vast and intricate beauty of nature. What I see is that 80% of modern people have at least one phobia related to nature. It's either a fear of water or heights or some insects or animals. And this essentially is not normal because just 1,000 years ago, people lived in harmony with nature and felt comfortable in the natural world. Modern people, when in nature, constantly feel like something out there wants to kill them, and they're even afraid of the tiniest inhabitants of this world. This lack of love, this hatred, this rejection of nature, in a way provokes the earth to cause catastrophes. There is also a call to stop polluting the earth and to turn towards ecology. Such initiatives already exist. There are countries that have made great progress in this regard, but it's still not enough. And this choice to unite with nature must be made by every person, at least to overcome this hatred, this rejection, these phobias. And thirdly, there will still be viruses and they will be diverse. And those people who are on low vibrations will get sick. Who usually get sick? Those who have low energy get sick. When a person has high energy, no matter what epidemics there are, they won't get sick. Their immune system will cope. Someone who has no energy will get sick. Their immunity won't be able to function properly.
What are the warning signs? Maybe in terms of life situations?
Money slips through your fingers. Everything was fine, and suddenly the money is gone. You're constantly being scammed by fraudsters. Your health falls apart, everything was fine, and now you just can't recover. Either you're stuck with a viral illness and can't get out of that state, or your chronic conditions have flared up, or new ones have appeared that you never had before. And you literally can't break free from hospitals and doctors. At home, there are constant conflicts with children, with your partner, with parents endless arguments, and you just can't break free from these negative emotions. You don't like what you're doing yourself. That is, you can barely force yourself to go to work. You barely make it through the day, then through the week until Friday. And especially if you used to enjoy something and then suddenly stopped enjoying it, that's also a clear sign.
How can you tell if maybe there's some kind of influence on me, if someone has cast the evil eye, put a curse on me, or maybe I accidentally performed some ritual? For example, I know that if you throw a coin into a fountain, that's also some kind of dark binding.
I can't say anything about the coin. But when it comes to magical influences, those really do exist. And I have a natural ability. I can sense and see negative magical influences on people very well. That's exactly why I know for sure that this is true. In reality, there are both hidden and obvious conflicts that occur between people in relationships. Sometimes this is resolved verbally through arguments or scandals. Sometimes it even comes to physical violence or some kind of physical aggression. And sometimes it's resolved through magical means. What could this mean magically? For example, it could be a curse. A curse is an energetic blow that can be delivered intentionally through a ritual, or even unintentionally. If a person has enough personal power and a strong emotion, they can do quite a lot of harm even with a simple word or wish. And this can negatively affect another person's life, especially if it comes from someone close. For example, someone wrote to me on the channel that a mother-in-law said about her granddaughter that it would have been better if she had died during childbirth. Even if she didn't perform a ritual, that's still a strong curse coming from a woman, let's say an elder relative. A mother's curse, a father's curse, all of that exists. Moving on. The evil eye is also a common type of negative influence, which is always the result of envy. That is, someone envied you and wished, for example, that you would have nothing. For you to have nothing means for you not to have any money. There are many different types of influences. There are love spells and various manipulative effects. This doesn't just apply to love. It can also happen in business or even in friendships where some kind of binding actions might be used. There can also be, and lately I see this a lot, so-called energy thefts, when someone tries to steal a person's energy, health, beauty, youth, or resources through certain influences. So if things like this are happening to you, you should pay attention to it, especially if it happens suddenly. A sign that this is an external influence is when it happens all of a sudden. If a person, for example, has always lived on low vibrations, they've just always lived that way, and things have always been bad for them. But if things were good and then suddenly got worse in some area, that indirectly suggests it could be a magical influence.
Is there some kind of ritual you can use to check, or maybe something like lighting a candle? If there's black smoke, it means there's some kind of negativity nearby.
I can't really say about the candle. I don't really believe that it's a reliable indicator, but at the end I can do a practice where everyone can feel for themselves whether such an influence is present. I can also remove these influences. Moreover, many people will see images of those who perform these influences at the moment when I remove them. Or the second thing that might happen is that after I remove it, that person might show up, call, or come by.
Interesting. Friends, make sure to watch until the end. Natalia has prepared a gift for us. We'll tell you exactly what the gift is at the end of the interview after the practice. But if you're especially curious, you can already follow the link. And while the video is playing, take a look and see what's going on there. Plus, don't forget to subscribe to the Telegram channel, where you'll find plenty of practices available for free, lectures, live streams addressing various issues, and forecasts. Basically, all of that is there too, so don't forget to subscribe to the Telegram channel.
What else could happen? That's from practice. For example, a woman breaks up with a man, or he leaves her, and for years she can't forget him, pines for him, and thinks it's just love. But in reality, a love spell was cast. Yes, it's not just women who cast love spells, men do it too, and sometimes they even hire professionals. Sometimes, for example, some kind of influence is directed at the mother, but it's the children who get sick. For instance, people often try to influence me as well. I can sense it very clearly. I know how to remove it. But one of the signs is this. If I notice that my child starts sleeping poorly, having nightmares, or getting sick, I immediately pay attention, because most likely some kind of negative influence is at work, which bounces off me and affects the child. This is also something to think about, because many people have children who are constantly sick and they think it's normal. Although in reality, children shouldn't be getting sick as a rule. They have young, healthy bodies, should have strong immunity and excellent health.
Souls will be taken only because that soul can't cope, right? And still, everyone is given signs to help them cope. So it wasn't originally intended that there would be waves in which people would be taken. There was a branch of reality in which no one would have been taken. Am I understanding this correctly?
That's right. Humanity has a certain task, and this task is becoming more complicated. So if in the past humanity was given many years to make some kind of progress or evolution, now that time has been shortened. And now humanity has been tasked with making progress quickly, in other words, to make a leap. And what have we observed over the last 100 years? For example, 100 years ago, there was a period of flourishing in the territory of the Soviet Union. And if we remember those who did well in school, what was happening? The Silver Age, there were many talented people, many writers. There was, by the way, great interest and a flourishing in the field of esotericism. There were wonderful societies, and many people from the arts were also members of them. That is, spirituality and creativity were experiencing very rapid growth. After that, everyone was arrested and executed. Those who managed to left or escaped. After that, our society, not just in the territory of the Soviet Union, but in general, moved forward in terms of technological development. But at the same time, spiritual development remained very low. For example, many people still cling to old Christian dogmas, regularly quoting in my comments very old passages from books that were written 1,000 or more years ago, and they tend to condemn anyone who has different views. Although now there are many interesting guides emerging who draw information directly from the source and provide relevant, up-to-date information. And so those people who cling to old, outdated constructs will also be leaving because they do not accept change. They do not accept the new. Since 1,000 years ago, things were one way and now they're different. Back then, there were certain tasks and now there are different ones. And now this is the task at hand. That's why so many guides have appeared now, because people are being persistently and even desperately given certain messages. That is precisely why these messages are given to many guides at once, so to speak, to shout them out through a megaphone, because this is very important information. So since many people don't fit in, don't understand, it turns out that they will leave. And it's not that someone is punishing them, it's just that this is the process. Those who can't fit into a certain process, they leave. For example, let's imagine a company, a team, some office where everyone is sitting and doing their own work. Some people, for instance, approach things creatively. They really push the project forward. They're passionate about it. They invest themselves emotionally and wholeheartedly. And then there are those who are just putting in their time, functioning mechanically. And if, for example, this team is given a more complex task, what happens then? All those who are just functioning mechanically would have to leave. And the team would need to bring in more of those creative, passionate people who can quickly get the project off the ground. That's exactly the situation happening on Earth right now. That's why everyone is saying we're moving from 3D to 5D. We're moving toward a multidimensional perception of reality. And in this multidimensional perception, many things will no longer be possible to hide. Much of what is a lie will become obvious as a lie. Those people who wear masks will take them off because it will become clear what they really are. When people develop multidimensional perception, they'll be able to read what someone is thinking. They'll be able to feel what another person is truly feeling, and lying or pretending will become impossible. That's why only those relationships based on acceptance, respect, and love will remain. And all relationships where someone is someone else's property or someone owes something to someone will inevitably fall apart, because that's a lie. No one comes into this world to be indebted. No one is born to be someone else's property. Every soul comes into this world to fulfill its own purpose. Those souls who have no purpose will not be able to live in the new world. Those souls who lie and pretend will not be able to live in the new world, and they will become outcasts. Those who do not have open, intuitive, multidimensional perception will also not be able to live in this world. But not so fast, right? Around the year 2030, most people will unlock their superhuman abilities, but even then, it will happen a bit later.
Let's just try to go deeper and clarify these points, those who lie.
For example, I often see situations where, say, a woman is afraid to follow her purpose, afraid to pursue her calling. She has fears which might even be karmic. At the same time, she says, for example, that she can't do any of this because she's very busy, she's raising a child. I'm taking care of my child. I take him to like 23 different activities because it's so important to invest something in him. Although in reality, she's actually deceiving herself this way and finds such an excuse, saying that she supposedly doesn't have time, that she's very busy. By the way, children of such women often get sick because the child also starts to play along, pretending to be weak, as if he needs care, adapting to this reality. In relationships, yes, people often say, for example, that we live together because of the children or because that's how it's supposed to be. But in reality, they're just afraid to leave their codependent relationships. They've already become completely and utterly addicted to this potent cocktail of intensely negative, deeply abusive, but incredibly varied and diverse emotions. And they're afraid to get off this needle, afraid to change anything at all. They might be afraid of being alone because solitude makes them feel uncomfortable. Many people are actually afraid to be in silence and alone because they can't handle turning inward. Since there's so much chaos inside them, so much negativity within, that being left alone with themselves is like watching 100 horror movies at once. They can't cope with the chaos inside themselves, All of this will fall away, and you'll have to move toward honesty. You have to move toward awareness. And those who can't handle it will be leaving this planet.
So what are the actual signs that you really are moving forward?
Yes, there really are such signs. I'll list them now, and you, dear viewers, please listen carefully and write in the comments all the signs you recognize in yourselves so that others can see they're not alone. The first sign is a change in your perception of time. Your sense of time shifts, and it may seem like it's passing incredibly fast, or on the contrary, dragging on, and sometimes it even feels like entire days just disappear, leaving you completely lost in time. And this is happening more and more often. If you've experienced this, please share in the comments. The second sign is unexplained pain in the body. For example, many people experience headaches. Headaches are especially common during solar flares. These pains can also occur in the back, in the knees, or in the heart area. These are blockages rising to the surface. Blockages are one of my favorite topics. Blockages are dark clusters of negative emotions in the subtle body. And this is not a punishment, it's not an illness, but rather a sign that you need to pay attention to these emotions, work through them, and let them go. And when this happens, such people usually develop super abilities. The third sign is waking up at night, especially between 3 and 4 in the morning. If this is happening, it means your guardian angels, your soulmates, your spiritual guides are already working with you, and your abilities are being revealed to you. The fourth sign is vivid dreams, especially prophetic ones, and especially those in which deceased relatives appear and deliver messages. The fifth sign is seeing repeating numbers on clocks. If you often see repeating numbers or notice other strange coincidences, you are being sent signs that you are already in the process of transition. Everyone who has noticed these signs, please write about it in the comments.
And even if you haven't noticed any signs yet, to start seeing them, join the Telegram channel and also check out the gift that Natalia has prepared called I'll Reveal the Cards. This is a marathon where exactly that happens. Tell us briefly, in a couple of words, what will be there.
It's a channeling marathon. And there I talk about how you can change your life and go through the transition painlessly with the help of channeling. Channeling comes from the word channel. It's a way of receiving information directly from higher powers. And at the marathon, I will explain how to protect yourself and your loved ones using channeling, how to find your purpose, and how to become a recognized expert, a master in the new reality after the quantum transition.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Telegram channel, where you'll find announcements, upcoming marathons, live broadcasts, in-depth discussions of specific topics, predictions, and events that are ahead of us. How can you increase your energy?
Yes, how can you increase your energy? But first, let me tell you what causes your energy to decrease. So the lowest vibrational emotions are fear, aggression, resentment, guilt, and shame. The highest emotion is love, and love is acceptance. That is not codependency, as many people think, but true acceptance. You can start by accepting yourself, stop constantly criticizing yourself, and accept yourself as you are, your appearance, your personality, your past. Then you can go further and accept those you live with, your husband, wife, child, mother, father. Simply accept them as they are, with their flaws, their mistakes, and their choices. And through this acceptance, unconditional love will come, which flows as energy from heart to heart. And it is precisely this kind of love that quickly raises your level, raising it to 500 hertz. Stop judging other people for things you can't allow yourself. Stop judging wealthy people, for example, or successful ones. Stop judging, making negative comments, and allow everyone the opportunity to express themselves.
And you mentioned souls, that there are earthly souls and non-earthly ones, and each has a different purpose. So non-earthly souls, whether they want to or not, that's it. There's nothing more to do here, right? such souls have nothing to fear anymore, they'll just be taken away, that's all? Or can they get stuck here?
Such souls also have things to fear. It's not for nothing that my spiritual guides persistently give me this task to gather souls with the potential to unlock superhuman abilities and help them unblock those abilities. Why is this necessary? Because unfortunately, over the years of existence on Earth, there have been many conflicts between star souls and humans. For the past thousands of years, there has been a witch hunt against witches and esoteric practitioners, and often these are star souls. Many times they were tortured, killed, drowned, or burned. And all of this has left, let's say, scars on our souls, or to put it more esoterically, has created huge layers of negative karma. Before we leave, we must cleanse ourselves of this karma. We must forgive people for everything they have done to us over these thousands of years. And we must accept people and their choices and, well, live, let's say, in an ethical way. I think the reason why star souls are being called back is precisely because, well, let's say the higher powers believe in people and see that there are at least a sufficient number of souls who are conscious, who are aware, who are capable of making choices. And the higher powers believe that people can now manage on their own without helpers. And before we leave, of course, as guides, we will give people the necessary knowledge, we will provide the needed tools, we will give all the hints, and only after that will we leave, ascending to our higher civilizations, to our various star systems, where relationships of a higher order exist. I think that star souls will only be happy about this, because returning home to their loved ones, whom we haven't seen for millennia, will be a very pleasant moment for all star souls.
And what about earthly souls? I mean, is there ever love between a star and an earthly soul?
Very rarely.
I see. So it turns out that even if your husband drinks beer and watches football every day, he's just asleep, right? But he's a star soul.
It can be different. Sometimes a star soul can fall asleep. The fact that a person drinks beer and watches football doesn't automatically make them, let's say, a low vibrational soul. What distinguishes star souls is something completely different. Star souls usually have a tendency to help people. This is a clear sign. If there is any need to help someone, a star soul can never resist it and will end up helping anyway. It should be understood that many star souls have also degraded quite a bit during their time on Earth. They may have picked up certain addictions, may have adopted habits, and some of them cannot cope with the heavy burden of negative karma. Some of them, by the way, feel a great sense of guilt and think that we have failed, looking at what people are doing. Star souls are often ashamed of people when they see what humans are doing. It's very hard for them to accept this, and they too may develop certain addictions and try to numb it in some way. As for love between earthly souls and star souls, it is possible, but it's not guaranteed that such love will withstand the test of the quantum transition, because these relationships can also be codependent. What can happen is that a star soul saves an earthly soul, following, so to speak, their own pattern. It's a pattern for star souls to help people, to always be the rescuer, the helper. And in reality, that's a codependent kind of love. From what I see, only between star souls can there be a truly equal, full-fledged union.
Some people have the gift of being a musician, some have the gift of inventing a neural network, and some, I don't know, have the gift of being a psychologist, right? Each civilization is born with its own unique characteristics. So can we say that all psychologists are a cluster of souls from the same civilization?
No, I call it a calling. In other words, the goal is the same, but the means can be different. It doesn't necessarily depend on which civilization the soul came from. It depends on what skills have been developed over many incarnations, so to speak. Some people go purely through esotericism, through spirituality. There are also those who choose creativity, because creativity allows you to cover a wide range. For example, My daughter, she came here very consciously, and I know she's a starseed. I did a channeling session, and when I asked, I was told that she would follow the path of creativity more than esotericism. So my goal is not to prepare her to become a spiritual teacher. Most likely, she will have an influence through her creativity. And we can see that indeed some gifted artist or someone who makes films or paints or creates some incredible network or design, they can be very different. For example, we had an interesting student who had the gift of changing a person's destiny through their hairstyle. So he has this kind of talent. I once watched something about Trump. He has the gift of changing people's states through space. That is, by creating a certain space, he changes people's reality. That's a gift as well. So there are many different ways to help others.
With so many options, how do you know what your true gift is? Because nowadays there are truly tons of these pervasive mass media stories constantly circulating.
Here, I would pay attention to what you actually enjoy doing, because there are many things you can do. You can do a lot, but from all that, you can choose what you like. If you take me, for example, as a child, I loved reading the most, and then that turned into writing, which is why I wrote a book. I could have sung a song, but I never liked singing. So it's easier for me to express myself through a book, because I wrote books in my past lives as well. I even have a book that I found, which I wrote in a previous life. Why? Because it's a skill I've already mastered. I wrote in one life, in another, and in a third. And someone else, for example, painted in all their lives, while someone else was dedicated to music. It's easier to do what you already know, what you've already developed. By the way, I actually think that the topic of a healthy lifestyle is largely overrated. Because if we pay attention, there are many people who led a healthy lifestyle, yet still develop cancer or some other illness. Because our body is affected not only by our lifestyle, but also by our emotional state. A person can lead a very healthy lifestyle, but still carry a huge sense of guilt and even believe that they don't deserve to live at all. At the same time, they may feel immense shame about their own imperfections, hold grudges, for example, against an ex-husband, their mother, their father, or even all of humanity. And all these negative emotions can completely negate the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. Emotions have a very strong impact on our bodies, just as much as what we eat or drink. I can't even count how many times I've helped people get rid of migraines. Starting with my own husband, by the way. He had migraines since he was young. Nothing ever helped him, neither pills nor painkillers. Literally, about once a month during that period, it would start and last for 2 or 3 days. And when I got rid of his migraines, he developed superpowers. His clairvoyance opened up.
Will a general increase in vibration help? Or does each person need to look at something specific? That's my question.
In general, of course, raising your overall vibration will help too. But if there are already specific symptoms, I would look at them individually. By the way, this is my own unique method. What I do for my students, I call quantum unblocking, when I work with blocks on all levels. And when we remove all the blocks, a quantum breakthrough happens in health, abilities, relationships, and self-expression. It's just a huge, rapid breakthrough. As for vision, maybe it's not psychosomatic, but if it is psychosomatic, it responds well to this kind of energetic work, especially when you specifically target blocks, for example, in the head area. I've already discovered a definite connection since I've been working with blocks for many years. There are certain patterns. For example, listen carefully now, and if this resonates with you, please write about it in the comments. For instance, if you often have lower back pain, pain in the sacrum area, or if your legs or knees hurt frequently, then most likely you have issues with your financial flow, that is, with money and abundance. If you often feel tension in your solar plexus, then most likely you have issues with decisiveness. And most likely you also struggle with procrastination because your willpower is blocked. If you experience pain, tension, or pressure in the heart area, and if you sometimes find it hard to take a deep breath, then most likely you also have problems in your relationships. I call this a closed heart. If you have problems with your blood vessels, especially varicose veins, then most likely you are a self-sacrificing person who takes on too much, and this is reflected in your veins. If you often have a sore throat or suffer from tonsillitis or pharyngitis, then most likely you also have issues with self-expression, with asserting yourself or speaking up. The same applies to stuttering, speech impediments, and other speech therapy issues. These are problems of self-expression. If you often have headaches, especially during solar flares or while meditating, then most likely you have extrasensory abilities that are blocked. And if you remove these pains, those abilities will be unblocked. If a person has significant vision problems, then most likely they don't want to see something. And if this is resolved, their vision may recover. The same applies to hearing. Most likely the person doesn't want to hear something. Or when someone lives in a toxic environment where people are constantly talking, saying unpleasant things, you want to somehow dull your hearing. Those who have pain in the back of the neck, you most likely also have an energy deficiency because you're carrying someone else's burden here. Rhinitis also indicates that there are blockages in the head area. This can also point to blocked superpowers. And problems with the stomach, with digestion, often indicate resentment. These are old, deep-seated resentments, maybe even unconscious ones, that exist and need to be let go. You should also pay attention to these pains. Are they really yours? Or are you picking up on someone else's? Because empaths can sometimes sense other people's pain and mistake it for their own. For example, sensing someone else's headache and thinking it's your own, that's the first thing. Because if you do pick up on others' feelings, then you are clairsentient and you have the potential to fully develop and use this ability. Those who experience ringing in their ears have the potential to develop clairaudience. If your heart is closed and you manage to open it, your empathy will also become much stronger. Those who suffer from migraines or headaches most likely have a strong gift of clairvoyance that has been blocked, because if you didn't have it, there would be nothing to block in the first place. And usually when you remove the block, it opens up very powerfully.
Friends, for those of you who didn't recognize these signs in yourselves, or maybe you did especially for you, there's a separate Telegram channel where activation and enhancement of clairaudience, clairvoyance, intuition, telepathy, and empathy take place, along with practices and live sessions, specifically about what blocks you, how to get out of it, what tools and methods you can use, and maybe even some exercises. So be sure to join the Telegram channel, and let me remind you about the gift.
Yes, I invite you to a 3-day channeling marathon called How to Improve Your Life with Channeling. There, I will be conducting unique practices. There will be a lot of diagnostics. We will test your superpowers and your potential for development many times in different ways. We will uncover your purpose and also talk about how to become a recognized master esotericist. And now I will do the promised practice. This will be a cleansing practice. So during it, you may experience a wide range of sensations. And in this vortex that I am about to create, I will remove all negative influences. Today we talked about curses, love spells, we talked about blocks, and I will be clearing all of that. So now please get into a comfortable position. Start focusing on your breathing. Close your eyes. Feel how I immerse you in my vortex. And In this vortex, you may feel various sensations rising up. This is absolutely necessary so that you, the user, can effectively and completely get rid of them from your system. And now I am beginning to remove them. I am destroying, burning, dissolving all negative magical influences. All energetic and psychic attacks. And I also completely destroy, burn away, and dissolve all your blocks in the form of your own deeply ingrained unconscious and negative emotions. A powerful stream of white light descends from above like a waterfall, washing away all heaviness and carrying it into the earth. A powerful swirling white vortex completely dissolves everything that is heavy, everything that truly prevents you, the individual, from effortlessly passing through this significant transition painlessly and with ease. A powerful white vortex dissolves any unpleasant sensations in the body. All pain, every single ache and discomfort, eventually leaves, completely dissolves, and gently goes back into the earth, becoming one with the ground. And even after we finish this practice, the cleansing process will continue. If there were indeed negative, powerful, magical influences present, you may have experienced rather strong, intense, and noticeable sensations. And I want to warn you that you may see images of the people who did this, or perhaps these people will suddenly try to contact you. Your own emotions may come out as reactions like yawning or tears or a feeling of drowsiness, and that's normal. This is the cleansing process at work. Even for some time after this broadcast, you may feel various unusual sensations. This is also normal. There's no need to be afraid of it. The process of transformation and transition is accelerating for you, and that's a positive thing. This is change, this is cleansing, this is a transition to a new self in a new world. With that, I will wrap up. I suggest you take a deep breath, and as you exhale, release all the heaviness, and with faith in the best, embark on the quantum transition.